Please give a warm welcome for Joseph Drolshagen.
No, thank you. Oh, you could have left it there. Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Wow. I almost thought, well, I'm not going to top that and walked out, but so I just want to thank Ruth and everybody for helping me put this together and for inviting me here today. This is truly an honor and a passion of mine to get to speak at a Unity. It's always a deep spot in my heart to get to share. And so I've been doing what I do for 20 years now. I've written a book. I do a lot of coaching individually, group. I do a lot of speaking and such. And like I said, always at Unity, it's a special place in my heart. I speak at different Unity facilities across the United States and travel quite a bit. And at the same time, I've spent 30 years of my life building a corporate career. Started out in automotive in Detroit, Michigan, and I built it up to vice president of sales and marketing for a $60 million corporation. To do that, but it was because I had and what I thought being a man was, and I followed that path to the best of my abilities and got my degree and kept taking those steps. And it wasn't until a few years ago when the president of our company said to me that, and I had already been doing this work for 12 years, 14 years and such, or 16 years, and he had said, you know, you need to go back and get your master's degree because I'm going to retire in a couple of years and we're going to need somebody to take over as a president. And it was the first time ever in my life when I was able to say, I don't want to do that. You know, I don't want to spend my life doing that. And now I'm in the transition of moving away from the corporate and fully into this, and it is really, really exciting. And I've gone through a lot of learning and growth and things like that going through it and such. So today, we're going to do a 2-week series here, and I kind of broke it down, and it's going to be based on the third Unity principle, which is I create my experience by what I choose to think, what I choose to feel, and believe. And this week I want to focus on the first part of that what I choose to think, because I believe, and my path has shown me, and the people I work with has shown me that that's where everything starts. And so I walk through some stuff, and then there are some books out there for sale, and I'm in the process of writing another book right now. And then we have a workshop scheduled for next week after the service, and it's really a lot of impact. It's really involves the audience and things like that, and it gives people tools they can walk away with and apply to their life. Some of those segments will be in here in today and next week's talk. So to get started with it, you know, the law of cause and effect is our thoughts create our emotions, right? So if you think right now, I lost my wallet, what's the emotion that comes up with that? Fear, anxiety, that contracting feeling, that tightening feeling of it. Okay, now, so you see that association. So now, realize that you know where your wallet is, and if you need to check, go ahead and check and see. But now when you realize, I know where it's at, do you feel that difference? Do you feel that emotional feeling with that? It's kind of like that, I know where it's at, okay? So that's our thoughts create our emotions. I do this in my workshops, and I keep pointing this out because I just think it's funny, and our mannerisms it's like I have invisible words here. And I'm reading them the right way. I should start over here so that you're seeing them. So if we have I just realized that, and I've been doing this for a while. So if we have our thoughts, and our thoughts determine our emotions, right? We can see that connection between those two. And then our emotions determine our actions, right? So when you're feeling upbeat and positive and self-confident and things like that, you take different actions than when you're feeling beat up or drained or down or depressed, right? So you can see that connection between those two. So our thoughts, I got to start this side, our thoughts create our emotions determine our actions, and then our actions determine the outcome of our life. So a lot of times we look at our circumstances, our situations, and our conditions surrounding us, and we look at that and we say, that's my life. But really, all of that is a determination of what our thoughts are. And that's why I want to spend time thinking in this area right now and talking about the thoughts. So where do our thoughts come from? I'll ask you guys. I'm a very interactive kind of a guy, so. Experiences? Okay, yep, from within. Observations. Yep, it creates the thoughts for later on, right? Well, our experiences. Also things, what's that? Yep, our memories. Also things that we were told, right? Or things that we were taught. Or the mood that we're in can determine our thinking, right? I've had some people in my life who have showed me that. What's going on in our surroundings, like you said, what's going on in our immediate surroundings right now can determine our thoughts, right? And bring our thoughts into. And so I had read a book a long, long time ago. It's called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And he talks about, I started learning at that time that the purpose of our mind is to help us solve complex problems. That's the purpose of our mind. I know for me, and I know a lot of my clients and a lot of people I talk to, that's not how the mind works, though. Instead, the mind runs our life. Our thoughts run our life, right? Have any of you guys ever had that battle going on upstairs and you're noticing and you're not even a part of it, and there's both sides being argued with each other? Have you had that happen? Have you had those thoughts that you're going, man, I don't even want to think this way anymore, but you can't break it because that thought owns you? Interactive, people, interactive. Yeah. And so what it is we end up following the direction of our thoughts rather than us having control over it. And when Jesus stated that these and even greater things shall you do, it starts with our thinking. So one of the questions I ask myself and I ask my clients, and I'll put out to you guys today to look at is are you doing those greater things? Are you experiencing abundance, which is the basic unity of principles in your life? I know that we get to live this life because of God and the powers of creation and all of that, right? Everybody would agree with that. Whether God, universe, whatever we want to call that. To me, I call it God, but whatever, you choose to call that. Do we believe that we have the power of creation in our lives? So if we believe we have the power of creation in our lives, are every one of you guys living in abundance? And I break life into 4 quadrants. There's health and well-being. There's love and relationships. There's vocation and life work. And there's time and money freedom. So I'll ask you, are you experiencing ultimate abundance in all 4 of those areas of your life all the time? Why do you think that is?
What you're focused on.
Yes. Our thinking. It all starts with our thoughts. So common hour thinking, and I'll give you an example of that in a second, leads to common hour life. So where people walk around and they think, how am I going to get to the end of this month and pay the rest of my, and have enough money to pay all my bills by the end of the month? That's common hour thinking. Bigger, more expansive thought would be, how can I go to the south of France for 6 months and make $10,000 doing it? Do you feel the difference between those 2 thoughts, though? And what happens is we're trained from children, and as we're growing up and we're going through our parental stuff, and then we're going through the school system, and then we're going into work and jobs, and I move a lot too. Let me get back to where I started. I make it tough for you, don't I? So as we're going through these areas, we end up with this training of thinking common hour thinking. And Ralph Waldo Emerson and a group that they were called Concord Conversations was all about bigger thinking. And thinking outside of the common hour things. And so one of my goals and my passion and my drive in my life is to help people see outside of that common hour thinking. And our condition, our circumstances, and our situation around us is only as it is because of what our thoughts are. And when I work with people and change those thoughts, those things start to change around them as well. So when I say elevated thought, what I'm saying is that we get outside of looking at what's happening right now, and we start envisioning on what we want life to look like. And as I start stepping up into that, and as we start moving into that, and I tell this story, I just talked to her on the way here to make sure, again, she was okay, and I won't say her name, but one of my clients is 78 years old. And I had met her at one of the workshops like I'll be doing next week, and we were talking afterwards, and I could see she was really excited at the workshop. But then at the end, when she was talking to me, she just goes, okay, well, thank you. And I go, you seem like you really got a lot out of the workshop. Would you like to talk further? And she goes, well, at my age, like, you don't get to dream anymore. And that's what I said. And I go, no. So we had a conversation, we talked about it and stuff like that. And so I took her through this exercise I take all my clients through and stuff before their clients. And we went through it, and it's this whole visioning thing and such. And we did it. And she came out with this stuff like she wants to travel and she wants to go places and see things she hasn't seen and things like that and stuff. So on the way here this morning, I talked to her. She has 4 trips set up in the next 6 months that she's traveling to Texas, and she's traveling to Utah for there's a big musical, oh my God. Yeah, Course in Miracles, thank you. And a big Course in Miracles event going on. I think it's in September that she's now going to. And she has like these events set up and stuff like that. And it's like, or I have people that I talk to that are retired. And I absolutely love when I talk to somebody in retirement and they say, every day is like a Saturday. Like, I love to hear that for everybody. But what I find is I'm talking to people and they're going, the first 6 months, 8 months, year and a half was great. But I feel like I don't have a purpose now. I feel like I'm kind of lost, And then I get in there and start working with them. And all of this stuff is based on the thoughts and working on what our thoughts are. And that will change our entire environment. It'll change the moment of right here and now by allowing us to grow beyond that, grow beyond what the common hour thinking is of this moment. So one of the things that keeps us where we're at with our thoughts and follow that is because it's uncomfortable to elevate that thoughts. And you guys have any idea what that uncomfortableness is? Fear. Right? The fear that, there's all kinds of fears, right? And fear is a very subtle type of a thing, right? It says, this isn't the right time for you to do something like that. This isn't, you don't have the money for that. It'd be irresponsible. You don't have the time or the knowledge. And ultimately, what's it doing? It's trying to keep us in our comfort zone. And I didn't know this for a long time. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm over 50. A little bit, just a smidgen. And I started doing this stuff when I was 22 years old. I knew in my heart I wanted to be a pastor at a church, and I wanted to coach and help people, and I wanted to be like a Tony Robbins. I don't know if you guys know who he is right then. He's been the person I've been most envious and jealous of my whole adult life because I so bad wanted to be that way. But I followed that other path. And I would try and do something. In my 30s, I tried to step out and start speaking and things like that, and I got a couple opportunities to do so, and I was so afraid. What I didn't know, and I would move forward, and I'd hit that fear, and I'd stop. And I thought, well, I must not be going in the right direction, because if I was, I wouldn't feel that fear. It wasn't until 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I realized anytime I step outside of my comfort zone, there's going to be fear, because it's new, and it starts out as fear. And it took me a few more years to realize, fear is so far across, I can never get around it, side or, either side. And it's so high up, I can never get over it. And it's so deep, I can never get under it. But when I finally decide to go through it, it's paper thin. And when I stand on this side of fear and I'm looking at it, it looks like it's those circle of flames with red, blue, purple, all the different colors. And I get through the other side and I look back and there's no flames. But it sure looked like there were when I was going through it. And the ultimate fear that we have is the fear of failure, that I won't succeed. And that holds up so many people from stepping out into living that vision or that desire or that higher level of creation that we have a God-given right to own and use and live by in our life. And I like to tell this story is, when we were babies, we were non-walkers, right? Anybody come out of the womb walking? Okay, so good. I haven't found anybody to raise their hand on it yet. And at some point, right, we're scurrying along and we see all these taller people moving around about us, and they're moving quickly and briskly, and our knees are getting sore and our hands are getting sore, and we decide, we grab hold of something and we stand up. And then we take that first step. And ultimately what happens is we fall down. And none of you guys decided at that point that you're just going to be a non-walker in life, right? We got up again and we kept going and we kept moving forward until we could walk and then run and doing those things. But something happens to us as adults. We quit giving ourselves permission to fall down. So we have a bad business venture and we say, I guess I'm not meant to be in business. Or we have a relationship that doesn't work out the way we initially intended or thought that it would, and we say, the relationships aren't for me. But it never takes care of that desire in our soul to live that passion by not filling it, right? All it does is squelches that down, and then we start squelching, we start practicing that in our life, and that's why a lot of people end up with addictions, whether it's alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, whatever it may be. And I've played in that arena as well, so I know firsthand how that plays out, because we got to keep pushing that stuff down. And then we put that word failure on it. And so we ask ourselves, what if I fail? And so that same sentence, okay, what if you fail? Right? It doesn't seem as powerful, or that falling down like we did when we were kids. So you fall down, you get up, brush off, and you move forward again. But it's that act of doing that and stepping into that and being willing to, that all of a sudden start elevating that. So I believe that we get to do what we do because God, as our Creator, has done so. But I also believe that God experiences a human condition through each one of our lives. And so if I decide I'm going to live in lack, and I'm going to live in resentment, and I'm going to live in anger and depression and things like that, that's what God gets to experience through my life. And if I decide that I want to live in prosperity and abundance and excitement and love and joy and happiness and fun, and then that's what God gets to experience through my human condition that I am as His child, as God's child. And we all have that same thing. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is something we can do this week as we leave here today that we can apply and work on or practice or just think about or something through this coming week. And then we'll take that and plug that into what next week's part is and kind of expand on it and stuff. So the first thing to do is to be aware of what we're being aware of, to notice what we're noticing in our thoughts. When we have those thoughts, and a thought comes to us and we struggle with it or we take action on it or whatever we do, but it's not doing anything like that. It's just noticing what we're noticing. And in doing that, one of the exercises that I work with my clients on is I call it an up until now exercise. So what happens is I'll have those same old paradigm thoughts or some people live 90 years of their life. I'll throw this in here now. Some people live 90 years. Other people live 1 year 90 times. And they just keep repeating those patterns over and over and over and over again in their life. And they live like that. What I want to do is I want to help people break those patterns. When people ask me what I do, I say I literally help people change their lives. Because I make them aware of those patterns, and we start working on those, and we start putting other thoughts in place. And the way I do that is this up until now practice that I do. Is when I'm having a thought that I don't want to have. For instance, I come from a poor family, and money was always an issue and things like that, so I've had issues with money and such. And I'll have a thought that so many people say, I can't afford that. I can't afford. That was one of my basic beliefs, my basic go-to things I would think and then say right away. And so what I started doing is I wrote a whole different thing on that I'll talk about in a little bit. But what I started doing with that is I started saying, up until now, my initial thought would be I could not afford that. That's the first half. And what that does, that up until now says all the way, it doesn't change that, it doesn't poo-poo it away, it doesn't say it didn't happen, it doesn't negate it or anything. It says up until now, that's been my truth. But it puts a lock on that area. It puts a line in the sand, so to speak, with it, and says, so up until now, my go-to thought would be, I can't afford that. But now that I realize that I am a child of God and I have all the abundance in the world and there is so much allowed that everybody on this planet could have as much as they possibly want, and there would still be an unlimited supply of it. So it's the up until now, and then typically the way I'll do the second part is I'll start it with, I am so happy and grateful now that. Because happiness and gratitude really charge emotions that help us fuel to new changes, new heights, new ways of living in our lifetime. So up until now, and then whatever that old paradigm thinking is, and then I am so happy and grateful now that, because now that, first off, it starts with I am, which I was just talking to somebody earlier about this. Was it you and I? Yep. And the I am is the highest level we can get to, right? The I am. I mean, it tells us that multiple times in the Bible and in our teachings and our life and everything else. So I am. And then so happy and grateful, like I said, are emotionally charged. And then I get to put that here I am moving again. I get to put that new thought in place there for what that is, what that changing thought is. And if I'm noticing what I'm noticing, and then I'm practicing doing that, it literally changes lives. Literally. And so if we could take this in some of our thoughts this week, notice what we're noticing, and then up until now, and I am so happy and grateful now that, and just practice those and just take those couple things, even if it's one time this week, and just try it out and see what happens. Or just, if you don't want to do the up until now, notice what you're noticing this week and let that kind of permeate and see what's happening with those thoughts. Because what I want to do when we're done with this series is I want everybody that comes to this and hears this to have an understanding that what's happening right here is all based on what's been happening up here. What I'm thinking today is who I will be tomorrow. And what you are thinking today is who you will be tomorrow. So, let me see. So one of the other things I do is I spend a little bit of time when I do the notice, what I'm noticing is I'll just say, what would I love? This is the other thing I practice is what would I love? What would I love? In the morning, I wake up and I spend some time, I drink my coffee and play with my new puppy and stuff like that and everything. But throughout that morning rituals is I'll spend some time and say, what would I love today? Now, I'll give you one example and then I have to wrap it up here. I thought you said I had 3.5 hours, but you said 30. But what they, so I did this one day. And again, I'm working for a company that's going through bankruptcy and gone through auction and bought out and all this stuff happening and everything and stuff. And so it's not a fun playground kind of place on a regular basis there right now. It hasn't been for the last 3 years. So I woke up in the morning, I was getting ready and everything, and I said, I just want to have like a fun lunch today. Like I just want to laugh and have fun. And so I go to work and I move on through my day and I go to work and I get there, come 11:30, I go out into my truck, I'm forgetting all about, what I said, and because I put the thought out there and then I move into life. And I get in my truck, put my seatbelt on, start it. I got in my truck, started it, put it in drive, started moving, and then did the seatbelt. I'm one of those guys. I don't do the seatbelt first like you're supposed to. I'll be honest. And I start pulling out of the spot, and I see this guy go like this, like from across the parking lot. So I stop, he comes over, he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to lunch. He goes, you mind if I go with you? And I go, no, not at all. So he gets in, we take off, we head down the road. He goes, where do you want to go? I go, I don't care, someplace I haven't been. He goes, have you ever been to this place? Yes. You ever been to this place? No, I haven't. Okay, let's go there. And we went there, had lunch. We're driving back, and I realized I laughed my butt off through lunch, and we got almost back to work, and I put that connection. That's what I said I would love this morning. And that's the power right there of our thoughts. That's why I'm asking you to do that exercise this week, to see if you have that outcome. And I'll tell you something, every week when I work with my clients, I have them every morning, I have them write down what would you love. And then when we meet every week, I talk to them about that through the week and see what happened. And I've never, ever had anybody go through a whole week without what they would love coming true somehow in their, it may not be that day, it may be the next day, but the things that they wrote down, somehow it came to life for them and stuff. And that just shows that connection between what our thinking is and that outside situation, circumstances, or conditions around us. So next week, we're going to go into talking about the other parts of this, principle number 3, which is what I choose to feel, which is that emotional side we touched on a little bit today, and then believe. And we're going to tie those in with, and like I said, my hopes is that you guys leave here with something that you can change in your life and elevate it up even higher and truly live the unity principles that we read and we understand, we study and everything else, and really as a church community, as individuals, as family members, as employees, that we can elevate that up to help the people, ourselves and the people around us to live more in those principles. So thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so we're going to do a meditation, and I'm going to do one probably 3 minutes. Is that okay? And this meditation, you can take out and use anytime. The whole meditation, the whole purpose of this specific meditation is to help us transfer from fight or flight mode and just bring everything down. So you know how something happens, like we realize we lost our wallet or something like that, and we get like uptight and we get nervous, or somebody, I don't know, somebody cuts us off and we do the things we do. Again, I'm not perfect, but when things like that happen, it just bring us down. And so I'll tell you this here, as I've practiced this with a lot of people, and I have a 22-year-old son who I absolutely adore, and he has problems with anxiety, and I've gone through all kinds of exercises with him, and I've studied, and I've talked to other people to find out what they are and stuff, and I've done this one with him, and he said, "Dad, this one actually works." So it wasn't like the other ones kind of did or anything, kind of like, you gave me garbage, now you're giving me the good stuff, and so anyway, so what it is it's called rectangular breathing. And whenever you feel yourself really uptight, and you can use this, and it just brings everything down. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to breathe, when I say, not yet, but when we to the count of 8, and I'll count, and then we're going to hold it for the count of 4, and then we're going to exhale for the count of 8, and then we're going to hold that for the count of 4. That's why it's a rectangle. And then we're going to do 3 loops of that. So if everybody just wants to get comfortable, if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, do so, and I promise not to come through and go through your purse. And then, there we go. Now we got the fight or flight mode, right? Now we'll bring it down. Thank you. Okay, so if you just close your eyes, and again, we're going to breathe through our nose. And I'll start counting, and remember, we're going to start with the inhale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when you're ready, take one deep breath and just let it out and relax. And you can open your eyes. And I'll need a volunteer to wake up the people who don't open their eyes. They're sleeping. Thank you, everybody. Namaste.